Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/am I the a-hole. I can't actually say what the acronym stands for, or else YouTube will eliminate me on the spot. So, if you enjoy the stories about figuring out whether people are very much sucky in sucky situations, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and let's get started, baby. Am I the a-hole for refusing to talk to my fiancée after she secretly replaced my wedding dress with a cheap copy to save her money? 27 and 27. Basically, male and female wife. Anyway, getting married in February. In our culture, the groom buys bride's wedding dress, and the bride buys groom's wedding dress. The groom's dress is called sherwani, and the bride's one is called lehenga. To keep things fair, the price range for their dress is decided in advance. We're a little sentimental for wedding clothes, decided to go on a higher end, chose a popular wedding attire brand, did all the shopping together, and she picked this lehenga of her choice, and I also found a marvelous piece of sherwani. My choice was a little more expensive than hers, but it was still within the price range we all set. Both of us agreed, finalized the clothes. We didn't bring them home immediately because they needed some customizations according to our body measurements. She was supposed to pick my dress when it's ready after a few days and send it to my home, around 1 month before the wedding. I had to do the same thing too, and I did. I received my sherwani from her 2 days ago. My whole family was excited, had a close look and multiple trials when I realized that, although it looks very similar, this is not the dress in which I picked. The quality is not up to mark. Stitching and finishing is nowhere near as good as the one I had seen in the showroom. There was no brand tag behind the collar, too. At first I assumed what we got played by the seller, but I contacted her first, told her everything, and my planning of confronting the seller. But she tried to make me believe that it's the same, that she checked it before sending me, etc., etc. Basically, she got restless when I was hell-bent on going to the showroom. In the end, she confessed that it's indeed not the same dress, but it's not the seller's mistake. Basically, she picked up a cheaper copy and sent it to me because, even though we had a set same price range for our dresses, she presumed that my dress would be less costly than hers, as women clothes are generally heavier, fancier here, and she thought that the sherwani I selected was good but not worth that price. I asked her in a lightly pissed tone why she didn't share her views before the purchase, and she had no solid answer. Just for clarity, we both earned decent money, and the price range was mutually fixed. She frequently spends on what I feel are expensive makeup products. I picked up the dress and went to her home, showed her how different it is from the original, how disrespectful, heartbreaking, and trust-breaking it is to secretly change your partner's wedding dress just to save some cash. I see no reason for this other than her being stingy for doing this to me. I was super disappointed, left that dress at her place, and came home. We had no contact since then, and I believe she's the one very wrong here, so she should reach out to me. My family was initially hurt too, but now they've started to say to not overreact as it might come to our wedding. Am I the a-hole? I'm still taking my stand. I don't think you're the a-hole. I think you have some hard decisions to make on whether or not this is someone you want to marry. If they're willing to lie to you about this, what else are they willing to lie to you about? And if you don't, what's the word? Confront them on certain things, will they let others take the fall like they wanted the dressmaker to take the fall in your head? Just didn't want you to confront them. It's just, you got some hard choices to make. Anyway, on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for not reminding my mom of my surgery? I'm on mobile, so sorry for formatting. I had a surgery last Tuesday where everything went as planned. This surgery had been planned for 3 months, and I told all my immediate family about it multiple times, as I needed someone to come stay with me overnight the first night. My grandmother, my father's mother, volunteered and was with me for 3 days following surgery. On the day of the surgery, I didn't hear from my mother until around 9 p.m., when she sent me a picture of my sister's cat. I didn't respond because I was on the drugs, but I did decide in that moment to not remind my mom I had surgery. On Thursday, my mother called me to ask if I could still officiate marriages. I can, by the way. And she decided to marry her latest boyfriend at our family reunion this summer without telling the rest of the family. I let her chat on and on about all of this without interrupting, but my grandmother decided to insert herself. She very loudly asked me if my mom was calling to check up on me. I told her no and that she was being rude interrupting my phone call. My mother went silent and asked who it was. When I told her who it was, she asked if I was getting ready for my surgery. I told her it happened Tuesday, and she asked, "Next Tuesday?" To which I confirmed that it was the Tuesday that just passed. She quickly wrapped up the call and hasn't messaged me since. My grandmother is saying that I'm a butthole for not reminding my mother, but this is a pattern for my mother, and I had plenty of other things to worry about. So am I the a-hole? For extra backstory, my parents divorced and separated when I was 4. My dad had full custody and practically raised me himself. My mother stepped in as a mother figure while my mother screwed around during my childhood. She and I are not close. When I was 13, I had strep throat so badly I was hospitalized. When I called my mother, terrified and in pain, just wanting my mom to give me comfort, she told me that she was at a 4th of July party and that she'd leave to see me if I actually had surgery. My priority in her life hasn't increased since then, but I'm almost 35 now, so I've gotten used to it. Her last marriage, she eloped with a man who had, weeks prior, called 15-year-old me and left a voicemail threatening all sorts of violence on me when he knew I was home alone. I was so terrified I showed up sobbing at my grandfather's house for help. She married him on my 16th birthday without telling anyone, then was surprised when I was upset. See, that little bit of backstory at the end definitely makes you not the a-hole. You're definitely not the a-hole here. Your mother is more of an egg donor than a mom. She hasn't put much into the mother-kid relationship, so there's little reason for you to offer more information than she needs. I disagree with your grandmother. Keep people like your mother on an information diet. Just live your own life. Anyway, on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's friend I don't have to see her in the classroom to know that she's a horrible teacher? My wife's friend was supposed to come watch fireworks with us tonight, but she just texted my wife that she isn't coming because I'm a nasty person who encourages my child to be rude and disrespectful. That's definitely a start. I'm not sure where this is going to go from here with that kind of start. My wife and I just had a small argument about the situation that ended her pulling a big Lebowski on me and saying, I don't have to be wrong to be an a-hole. That's true, but I think her friend is the a-hole, not me. I'll tell you what happened, and you decide for us. My wife's friend was at our house for dinner. She's a teacher, and she complains about it a lot. She says the parents are impossible to deal with. The administration is not supportive. Everyone has an opinion on curriculum, and the kids don't listen. I include these complaints as context for the discussion. She told my wife she was working on her lesson plan for February and Black History Month and that she was making a fact sheet about Martin Luther King Jr. for her kids. Our son, who was a huge Star Trek fan, said that he should include the fact that Martin Luther King Jr. was a Star Trek fan. My wife's friend was a very patronizing tone and expression, I might add, said that maybe he would have been if he was still alive when it aired. My son said that he was, and that he used to watch it with his daughters. My wife's friend said that he died before the show aired. I told her she was wrong and my son was right. She said I was a perfect example of a parent that can't acknowledge when her child was wrong. I said, no, you're a perfect example of a teacher that assumes she knows everything and can't connect with her students because she doesn't respect them. My wife forced us all to change the topic. After dessert, I pulled up a video on YouTube where Nichelle Nichols was discussing talking to Martin Luther King Jr. about Star Trek. I showed it to everyone. My wife's friend asked why I couldn't let this topic lie. I said I didn't want my son to feel like he was wrong for sharing facts he knows about his interests. My wife's friend said I don't know what it's like to be a teacher. This isn't about you being a teacher. This is about something else entirely, lady. I said, I don't, but I know she's a bad one. She said, I've never been in her classroom, and I said, I don't need to see because of how she is in her daily life, and people are who they are regardless of where they are. So my wife's argument is that I'm an a-hole for bringing the topic back up after it was settled. She said I could have played the video for our son after her friend left and taught him about giving others grace and not needing external validation. I disagree and think it's important our kid knows we will always stand up with him. So am I the a-hole? Okay, narrator here. Before I read a random comment on the edition, I actually have my own thoughts on this. I don't think the dad's the a-hole here. A kid needs to know their parents will stand with them. I had some issues with my parental figure not standing up with me in certain situations. She's gotten better in many recent years, but dear Lord, it's important for kids growing up to know that people will stand with them, especially so they know how to stand up for themselves. Now let's read a comment. That conversation between Nichelle and MLK Jr. was famously groundbreaking. She was going to quit, but he convinced her to stay as a beacon to other people of color who saw her as an inspiration and hope for the future. Alright, that doesn't say who's the a-hole though. Let's find someone else. Let's find someone else saying something. What an interesting statement. Can you show me where you found it? It's not hard to be kind and invalidating. I wouldn't let her negative energy around my children unless she changes her way. Why would you want to hang around this negative Nancy? That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Anyway, OP is not the a-hole here. Definitely. I don't see any universe where he's the a-hole unless it's like a Cheshire cat. Woo! This is a backwards everything world. Anyway, on to the last story of the day. Am I the a-hole for keeping my reception venue when I couldn't get a refund? So my fiance cheated on me and I found out about 6 weeks ago. I called off our wedding, sorry to be so matter-of-fact about it, but I'm still not okay. I managed to get partial refunds on almost everything. The photographer only kept $200 of our deposit. Our church doesn't charge members for using it for weddings, but they also did not allow alcohol in their reception hall, so we booked that separately. The venue had a strict policy of not giving back any money without 3 months' notice. Since I only gave a month and a half and had paid in full, I was getting nothing back, so I was pissed. So my brother actually came up with a plan. We held a party with a Mario Kart tournament. We had a huge screen and a projector. I knew I had a bunch of friends with that night free, so we did that instead. 20 and 30-something idiots playing a children's game for bragging rights. We had a blast. I felt like I was in college again. I had sent my ex her part of the deposit, but obviously nothing for the venue. I had not heard from her, but the venue wanted me to release the date. I said I would if they gave me a refund, and they refused, so I refused. Since we got the catering separately, I didn't even need to tip the staff. And now I'm hearing that I screwed over the venue and the staff by taking up the room that they could have rented to a different event. Some people are saying that I kept someone from having a beautiful wedding there. I do not care. I don't owe the venue an opportunity to be paid twice. I honestly would have accepted it if they kept our 30% deposit, but they kept the whole entire thing. We didn't leave a mess, so they probably saved on janitorial services. Was I the a-hole? Someone in the comments says, it sounds like they kept someone from having a beautiful wedding there. Not the a-hole. You played by their rules, and they're mad they couldn't get double paid. And that is the end of today's video. If you all enjoyed what I had going for you today, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and hype the video. And if you want to see more of my storytelling content, we have a Reddit story playlist and a horror story playlist. Check them out if you got time to listen to some dulcet tones. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.